a.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So wherever you are up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe, we appreciate you being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora all throughout the week and all throughout the year. With that being said, we have a very special exclusive coming up today here with you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Of course, in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Moyne College Dolphins, I have the opportunity to bring you stories and bring you conversations that you won't find anywhere else, not quite like this. And we have a new leader on the Heights at Moyne, and that being the VP of Intercollegiate Athletics and Campus Recreation, Phil Brown, coming to Lemoyne from the SEC, from Vanderbilt, and his vision, what his thoughts are about Lemoyne, what drew him to Lemoyne, his faith, his values, name, image, and likeness, and where is that space going to be at Lemoyne, the transfer portal, and more. All of those questions about the leader. What is his leadership going to be? How does he want to connect with coaches? All of those questions that we commonly have when there's a change in leadership in athletics, especially in today's world of athletics with NIL and the transfer portal, those questions get answered this morning in an exclusive that you'll only find here on Wake Up Call. And that's coming up with Phil Brown, the new leader on the Heights of athletics at Moyne College for the Dolphins. Find out what he had to say about so many different topics pertinent to the times right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the Whole Frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the world on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Of course, once the shows go live, you can hop into our archives and check out over 1,600 episodes. Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or Wake Up Call DT. You can also ask your Alexa device as well as your Google Home device to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and they can do that as well. So that is a mouthful. I want to see if it's longer than saying the Moyne College Assistant VP of Intercollegiate Athletics and Campus Recreation. That is your leader of the athletic department, Phil Brown. He was with us here in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Moyne College earlier on when he accepted the job. On the heels of that, he joined us here on Wake Up Call for an extensive conversation. And now on the eve of beginning, officially January 1st, 2025, we are just a few steps away from that. So we're calling this the eve of beginning here in this edition of AD and DT, my first AD and DT with Phil Brown. Phil, how are you?
Dan, thanks for having me back. I'm doing well. Trying to figure out the housing situation there in Syracuse, but otherwise doing great.
Yeah, I mean, I got guest rooms, so I can help you figure out how to.
I might come knocking. Don't worry.
So, I mean, I know you're moving up, obviously, from spending the time that you spent at Vanderbilt, and for you, I mean, playing kind of in both of these worlds right now in the SEC with Vanderbilt, and then coming over to the Northeast Conference in Lemoyne. How have you done the dance of finishing up and kind of buttoning up everything at Vanderbilt, and at the same time keeping an ear to the ground for Lemoyne?
It's great people on both sides, really. I've been fortunate that when I told Vanderbilt I was leaving, I also offered to finish up a project that I was working on. I felt that, they gave me 9 great years and they trained me to be, able to do this job for Lemoyne, I feel. And I just wanted to help them. So really, it's just a knowledge download to the people who are going to step in and help out once I'm gone. I don't know what their plans are for backfilling, but I do know that they have some interim folks from the finance department and just dumping everything I know on them. And then on the other side of Lemoyne, I've been very grateful. Mike Lindbergh's been a big piece. We've had transition calls. I've had the opportunity to talk to my coaches a few times. And so it's just been really easy, I think, to begin to upload the knowledge from the folks at Lemoyne to know where I'm going. I've had chats with Noreen from the NEC as well, just to make sure that I'm beginning to adapt and understand what we're looking at as we kind of want to hit the ground running.
Yeah, and like you said, Mike Lindbergh, who's served as the interim with Bob Beretta, moving on to his alma mater of St. Bonaventure. Mike Lindbergh stepping in this time period in between finding an official athletics director. Just what you could say about working with Mike Lindbergh, what he's done for you. I know you mentioned him here in this transition, but just what that relationship has been like.
Oh, it's been great. He's very much open to any conversation I want to have, any direction we want to go. He's been kind of necessary for me to know at a point in time what Lemoyne has going on. I think that's important for me to know the day-to-days of where they are and where they are in the department. Working on the Division I transition, is vitally important for us. It's a piece we have to keep moving forward. And so just working with Mike very close on that here recently, as we get ready to go into kind of midpoint of year 2, understanding what needs to happen still and where to go from here. And then, Mike was very, very involved with me being on campus a few weeks ago for the Binghamton game and being introduced and meeting those folks at that time. So I appreciate Mike. He's an alum. He keeps saying that he's going to leave, and I keep saying, well, you can stay. You belong. You're a Dolphin through and through. So I'm not rushing him out the door by any means. He's welcome to be there as long as he'd like.
Yeah, and you got to come to campus a couple times here since accepting this opportunity to lead the athletic department. What have you taken away from Lemoyne, seeing teams in season and, like you said, officially getting introduced in the battle for Interstate 81 between Lemoyne and Binghamton on the men's basketball side?
No, I see a athletic department that is growing and transitioning. As I look at my teams in particular, modern technology streaming is great. I've been able to catch most of the games for the men's and women's basketball program, from afar. I see a women's team that is growing under a first year head coach. I see a culture being built. The results aren't quite there yet, but I'm excited about where they're going. On the men's side, um, the game against Manhattan was great basketball. It was a lot of fun to watch. We got the win there. The games against Army and Syracuse have both been tremendous. And even live and in person in Binghamton, the crowd was great. Lots of student involvement. It was a lot of fun. It feels like big time college basketball. Sure, Vanderbilt has a 10,000, 15,000 seat arena. It gets rocking, but so does the 1,400 seats there at Lemoyne. So it is big time college basketball. It's a lot of fun to be part of. And I'm very excited about where we're headed. I told Coach Kim on the volleyball program as I was following along with him through the course of the year. You see that growth, you see that improvement towards the end of the year. I know she's new in her role as well, and kind of moving forward, and just kind of excited for what's to come.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of those coaches. Obviously, with new leadership coming in and assessing 21 different programs that we're looking at in Division One, transitioning from Division Two to Division One in the NCAA for Lemoyne, building those relationships with the coaches, looking at them. What do you want them to know? Because when new leadership comes in, some coaches are saying, like, am I here? Am I going? Am I, how is all this going to work out? I mean, you deal with the SEC, which is notorious for a lot of turnover and a lot of changeover. So how do you kind of assess and will begin to assess different programs that have finished up their season, programs that are in season, programs that are going to be starting up in the spring? Just kind of how you look at all of that and the relationships that you have with the coaches.
I think you nailed it with the first part is the relationship. That's key. That's where we're going to start. I need to understand who the coach is, what the culture they want to build, what resources are they still needing to get there. This me coming in is one change, changing to Division One is another change, and so in a time of just kind of change across the board, it's going to be about that relationship. Knowing where the coach is, where they want to go, will really help in the assessment of what's next. Wins and losses, that's not going to be a driver right now for me personally. I'm going to take into consideration all factors. Where are the student athletes at? How do they feel? Taking those kind of end of year surveys and getting a good feeling for the culture of the program. Is there a plan for what's next? I think that'll probably be the biggest key, is meeting with each coach, developing that personal relationship, learning their plan on how they intend to grow into what we're becoming will be vitally important for me.
Yeah, and you look at some of these successes that, and you mentioned some of them, how Lemoyne started off the season down the road against Syracuse in the Dome. I was on hand for that game, and I mean, outside of a decision toward the end of the game on a possession, we're talking about maybe overtime, a Lemoyne victory, and it would be Lemoyne's first ever historically against Syracuse in the games that have counted. Lemoyne 0-8 going into that game in men's basketball. They did win an exhibition game when they were Division Two, and so seeing how well they played them there, like you said, the game against Army, the win over Manhattan, and then you go to the women's side of things and how they've been challenged. They go to Stanford. They went out to Puerto Rico. They're playing teams in Illinois. They have definitely put themselves out there in non-conference play, and with a new head coach in Nick DiPillo who didn't make that schedule. So he kind of just came in and said, all right, this is the schedule. This is what we got. Tried to do some things in the transfer portal. Tried to keep some recruits at the time that he came in. Susan Kim trying to build up a program that she came into in the not too distant past in the 11th hour after a coach had left going into the season. And so there's definitely been, like you said, a lot of change and a lot of work through these different things. Men's basketball having some successes, women's basketball working toward that, and then, seeing what Susan Kim is doing with her program, seeing the men's soccer team go to a team down the road in Syracuse that was number 7 in the country ranked at the time, and a team that had won just a couple years before the ACC and won a national championship. They defeated Syracuse at Syracuse on Syracuse's field. So there's a lot to build upon. There's a lot of good things that we can talk about here with Lemoyne. There's successes that happened last year in the transition to D1. The women's basketball team playing for an NEC championship in the tournament finale. We saw a women's soccer team almost make it to the postseason. A men's team did make it to the postseason. So, I mean, it's a lot. It's a mouthful, so to speak, but it's a good mouthful of things to share that you're inheriting here. As you step forward, you're seeing that the build toward Division I has already shown you some dividends, shown you some good things, shown you some successes. And that's not even including the spring sports, the fact that cross country had a record finish for the men's team and the women's team, best ever. So in their transition to the NEC, there's a lot of things to build upon for sure.
Absolutely. It's just exciting. All of that, talking about the successes in the first year of transition were things that went into my decision to come. I look at Coach Dan in lacrosse in all of his national titles. It can be done. It can be done at Lemoyne. The blueprint's there. That was part of the decision-making process for me. It's just going to take a little bit of time. You have to adjust some rosters. Division I is bigger, faster, stronger. We'll get there. We'll look at our strength and conditioning program and make sure that we're putting in the resources we need there and just developing the teams and the talent that we need. A lot of the rosters already have kids who are probably right on the cusp of being Division I athletes anyway. We just need to pour into them with our coaches and what we do best, and that, stick to our mission, and you're going to have kids who are motivated to perform both on the field and in the classroom and in life. It's going to be a lot of fun down the road.
Yeah, and like you said, building towards something and seeing the successes that Lemoyne has had and the success that they had in their transition to D1 last year, having to do with your decision. Reflecting on it, hindsight 2020, since you and I talked so close to your decision when we did the first time around, now that you've had some time to think about it, what were the major factors that made Lemoyne the right place for you to lead an athletic department?
I'm going to go back to it's that point in history. Change in the NCAA, not having Division I baggage is a big deal still. I can see a lot of that having been on campus watching a game. There are some things that we get to do in Division I that we get to grow into around our marketing, around our maybe even some NIL and work we get to do there that is exciting. We don't do it so we can grow into it, and we don't have to shy away from things that we did and we were successful at because it doesn't matter anymore. I'm going to keep talking on President Namira. She's fantastic. I was just blown away by the way the students reacted to her and her presence at the men's game. That shows you the quality of leadership. So I felt it when I was in the room in the interview process, but to experience how the student body feels about her, it reinforced a decision that I made, not knowing that she's so engaged. They care about her. She cares about them. Yet we're maintaining that Jesuit identity and we're doing it the right way. It's just it felt really good. It was just a great experience across the board.
And in that experience, I mean, being at Vanderbilt, being inside of the SEC, experiencing what life is like there, what are you seeing at Lamar? Is there any parallel where you are at Vanderbilt that you can sense and say, like, I have this here inside of the SEC, I have this here at Vanderbilt, and I can feel this growing here, or I can see this here? What's similar? What's different? And if something is different that's tangible to you right now about Lemoyne, is it a good different?
I think the way to answer that is it is a good different, and it goes back to that marketing piece. Um, we have a wonderful brand to, to lack of better terms, to sell that doesn't need a lot of work to sell. I mean, when people find out who Lemoyne is and what they do, it's going to be easy. And then you add in that sports piece and the excitement of it. Again, the difference between the NEC and the SEC is just size of venues. The love of the fan base is the same. I sensed it in the building. Dolphin fans are just as rabid as any Vanderbilt fan, as any Alabama fan. They were on top of the officials in a good way, giving them heck as they needed to. They were cheering for the guys. That part of college athletics is no different. A fan is a fan, and you just have to build on it to the size and scope that we are. Um, we just need to put our brand out there in a different form and fashion to make sure that the community understands that we are a Division I school. We're competing just like Syracuse, our neighbor, just like Binghamton down the road in our rivalry. It's exciting. It is palpable when you're in the building. It's all college athletics at the end of the day. We're just talking about size of venues at the end of it.
And we talk about, like you said, size and venues. The Events and Rec Center, before you were announced to be the new leader of the athletic department, there was the $45 million project that we're talking about in the revitalization, revamping, retooling, however you'd like to describe what this is going to look like for the Events and Rec Center, the addition of tennis courts so that the men's and women's tennis teams can play as well as practice at home, a track that will come to Lemoyne so that the track teams can be at home and can enjoy that time and practice there and host events there. So when you look at that, because you and I spoke about this a little bit on and off the air, the Events and Rec Center, seeing what the idea is, seeing what is to come, what the plan is to be. I mean, this stuff got rolling. I remember I released it in January of this year of 2024. So we're almost a year from that releasing of the information. As we're starting to see this thing truly break ground, what are you most excited about? You talked about SEC, NEC, the difference is size of venue. What's the Events and Rec Center going to bring to the table? What are you seeing in the plans that makes you believe, hey, we can take what we have and we can really put a spotlight on Lemoyne by doing this? What are some of those things?
Absolutely. One of the earlier takes I saw has to do with the strength and conditioning space. That's huge for me. I was very fortunate. The architects we were working with at Vanderbilt put on an annual, um, basically, it's a symposium for their organization. They're a global architecture firm, and they focus on the premier athlete training facility, is the best way to put it. So they're building these training facilities across the globe, across different sports. I was invited out to Australia to present on what Vanderbilt was building. And I think the thing I took away the most was that if you have the right training facilities, the competition will come. In the Southeastern Conference, there's a lot of emphasis put on, bigger, better stadiums 20 years ago when the network launched. Everybody put some capital in that. People's viewing decisions have changed over the last few years. People are now ripping out the big seats and putting in the premium spaces. Those are great for fan amenities. But to have a quality product on and off the field, we need those premier training facilities. And so that's one of the pieces that I saw early on was what we're able to do with the strength and conditioning for our student athletes. That'll be exciting. And then just having home facilities. That takes some of the stressors away from our student athletes of getting to practice. Now you can be closer to your dorm, closer to your library, classroom, computers, whatever, and getting down to a high quality training facility on campus with the courts and the track will be paramount to watching those programs grow and develop as well.
And in the growth and development of these programs here with Phil Brown the Moyne College Assistant VP of Intercollegiate Athletics and Campus Recreation, on the eve of beginning his time there at Moyne on the Heights, here inside of our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Moyne College on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in this edition of AD and DT. What is your charge to the coaches? What should they know?
That I'm going to be their partner in building resources to build championship programs. We're in this together. We're going to sit down. We're going to be a team to move their programs forward. That's their charge, and they're going to build their cultures. They're going to be who they want to be and do it their way. And I am that piece of it that is there to support them, to ensure that we're finding the resources they need. That's what they need to know from me. My charge to them is to use me to build their programs. Sure, I have to be part of the administration and decision making and, unfortunately the boss sometimes, and have to make the hard decisions. But my charge to them is to use me to tell me what they need and allow me to go help them build what they need to be great. I'm very much into the collaboration and partnership. The vision is going to be simple. As I've said, we're going to do things with respect. We're going to do things with integrity. We're going to do things in the service of others. And all of that so that both our fans, our alumni, our student athletes have a great experience in their time at Moyne. Whether they're a student for 4 years or they're an alum coming back for a 2-hour basketball game, the experience is going to be what matters. And that's my job, is to make sure that we're all putting our best foot forward in those kind of areas.
And, you coming from the SEC, we know that there's a lot that can, the beacon is on the SEC to win, right? Especially when we look at college football, it's to win. You got such a short time period, and there's all that emphasis on there. How did you keep, when you talk about all of the ideals that you have, the morals and the values that you have, the faith that you have, how did you keep all of that in a world that sometimes could feel transactional being in the SEC? How did you remain who you are to this day?
You nailed it. It's the faith. It's who I am. I'm always going to be honest with people. That's my charge. And if the moment you become dishonest in your words, you become dishonest in yourself. So I treated people in all of my interactions the way I feel they need to be treated, and that is with the truth. Sometimes it's a loving truth of hey, you messed up, but how can we get better? Sometimes it's just a truth of that wasn't a good situation you put yourself in. Now we have to face a consequence. But it was always about telling the truth and the situation. Remaining true to my values was something that I put forward. You can't package them up. You can't just have them on the shelf and say, these are my values. You actually have to put them in practice every day. And that was part of how I've always led my areas. People knew that they were going to get genuinely who I am. And it was going to be fed by the things that are the inputs for me, whether that's, the Catholic faith or my wife or my kids. One of the things I told my staff here when I would hire them is always, I have kids. That means that some days I'm going to have to leave early to take care of them and pick them up from school, take them to a sporting event. And you deserve the same thing. And so that was just part of my input to them. So it's, you owe me 40 hours of work, but you will have things you need to do. So make sure they're between, these times of the day, and we're all going to be fine. And I never had an employee complain about that. They understood that family was important to me, faith was important to me, and you could also have those things. And that's how I intend to lead here as well. People have other things in their life. As long as they're committed to the job we've asked them to do in the time they need to get it done, then it all should work out.
Yeah. And I can definitely appreciate and value that and the importance of that and the echoes of that I've heard, from coaches through time about, don't miss that recital. Don't, make sure that you make time for your family. Make sure that you go on a date with your wife and spend some time together, do your job, but also have your life as well. In the transactional world that we live in, Phil, you brought it up, name, image, and likeness, and the world of that, NIL, the transfer portal. Where does that come into your leadership? Because yes, they can be used for good. Yes, name, image, and likeness can provide opportunities for student athletes they never had before. The transfer portal can provide student athletes that, maybe they made a decision, it wasn't the right decision. Maybe a coach didn't tell them the truth. Maybe they're far away from home. So they go in the portal and they look at Lemoyne and think to themselves, okay, what could this road be like for me? Where do these two massive things that are affecting the NCAA every second, where do they reside in your leadership at Moyne College? NIL, transfer portal, where do you sit on them both as you come into Lemoyne?
We can't shy away from them. They are the reality now. There is no, oh, everybody else is doing on NIL. Well, we're going to have to figure it out. But there is a right NIL. There is not a pay for play NIL. There is a genuine way to do it. And we'll make sure that we sit down with our team, we look at it in the Lemoyne way, and we do NIL the right way. That's going to be important for us. It has to be part of it. It is part of college athletics now, so we can't say we're not doing it. Look, we can complain about the transfer portal. We can look at what happened with Marshall football. They decided to back out of a bowl game because of the transfer portal effectively. We don't know the decisions that went into that for each and every student athlete in the portal. But what we do need to do is make sure that we have honest conversations with our student athletes, both coming in and going out, utilizing the portal to understand, the why they leave. I transferred universities myself. Look, I didn't fit the first one I picked, and it happens. I get that first one. I understand. But we do need to make sure that we are surveying and understanding why student athletes are choosing to leave so that we can change that situation. If it's us, then we're going to fix that. If it's them, is it society pulling? We need to know so that we can ensure that we're doing our part to create affinity for the Dolphins in the long run through graduating student athletes. If we recruited them to begin with. The other side of it is maybe a student athlete wasn't happy, then we're going to use the portal to bring them in, and we're going to make sure they have a happy, safe landing place where they can finish their college career and get out of it what they intended to get out of it wherever they started. So, again, both are realities. Both are going to have to be used. We're just going to do it our way. And again, Lemoyne has a guiding North Star. We have the Lemoyne way. We're going to utilize that program to assist us in making the right decisions.
And to kind of go a little bit deeper into what the Lemoyne way is, to someone who doesn't know the Lemoyne way, what is your elevator pitch for exactly what that is?
Oh, it's a good one. I haven't thought of that yet. I think the best way to put it is the Lemoyne way is that holistic growth of a person. And we just need to make sure that we don't lose sight of that. A lot has gone into developing the program. I need to personally become more involved with it. I've read through it. I understand that it spoke to me. It's part of why the job is important. But I owe Lemoyne the effort to really encapsulate what you just said. I'm not quite there yet. But, like you said, I'm on the eve of starting. I'm not the AD just yet.
Yeah. And you mentioned Syracuse. It's down the road. Binghamton's an hour away. You have Cornell. You have Colgate. There's a lot of schools that are in the Division I circle that are within a small radius. How does Lemoyne find its place? We talk about Dolphins and going D2 to D1, essentially opening up that gate and sending that Dolphin from where they were in that small pond, essentially, out to the water, out to the ocean. So where do you see the Dolphins swimming? And is there a world where you're going to be going up in recruiting against Syracuse, against Binghamton, against these schools that have a storied program here, a storied program there, have really good ties to the community or the Northeast or certain places? Do you see that world where Lemoyne is not in this family as a little brother or a little sister, but can go toe-to-toe and say, all right, you went and visited Syracuse down the road. Now you're coming here to Lemoyne. We're going to show you why you should come here.
Absolutely. That's what we should strive for. That's why you go Division One. Our job is to make sure that I think we'll be the 22nd Division One basketball program, and so 22nd among a lot of sports. But in the great state of New York alone, there are Dolphins everywhere. So we're going to go find young people that fit who we are, what we offer, and if they also look at Syracuse, that's great. We're no different. We're going to get you the education that you need out into the future, using our ethos of who we are and what we do to guide you holistically and make you the person that's going to go out into the community later and be in the service of others. If that's what is driving the student athlete, then that's going to be our sales pitch. That's what's going to be the differentiator for us. That's why people want to join the Dolphin family. It's why people have joined the Dolphin family for 70 odd years now, that the university's been open. And so it's just exciting to be, able to say, hey, we're Division One like Binghamton, like Syracuse, like all the others, and here's our value proposition and why we're the right school for you if you're, the right student athlete for us.
Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Bryan and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Bryan and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there's something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. We When we first started the business in '07, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There's a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allowing customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machine, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machine. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. So looking at these uncharted waters for Lemoyne and where Lemoyne currently stands right now, you make this decision to make a leap, and like a dolphin, you are now going out into new waters for yourself as Lemoyne is going out into new waters for themselves. Why are you the right leader right now for this job at Lemoyne?
Sure. I bring some Division I experience. I bring some Division II experience. And I think why I'm the right leader right now is because of the experience I have. I'm coming from a private institution of 6,400 undergrads, 12,000 total students if you count the professionals. So we're small. We play in the biggest conference. We've had to do things a little bit different than Alabama or Auburn, these large funded state schools. And so my experience lies in exactly the niche that Lemoyne kind of lives in. A smaller student population, a private school, charting a path in Division I where the resources aren't quite where your peers are yet, but it'll come. And I've seen how at Vanderbilt there was a history of lowered alumni engagement and activity. We bring in a new chancellor. He changes that. We kick off the Van United program. It's at this point over $400 million in capital projects, all funded through philanthropy. Seeing how that can be done will translate really well for what Lemoyne is looking for right now. There is an opportunity to re-engage our alumni. Some of it is fundraising, some of it is just friends raising. We've got to bring people back that maybe have not been as engaged. That's part of what I've done at Vanderbilt for a while now. Um, and then in addition to that, it's just knowing the ins and outs of college athletics. I've sat in the room with the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, who arguably is the de facto leader of college athletics right now, if you ask some people. Um, Knowing where it's headed in his eyes and his perspective, it will help me to make sure that Lemoyne is following a path to greatness. As the tagline is, goodness to greatness. That's where we're headed. Um, I think that's why I just bring a breadth of experience, whether it's building things, finance, leading teams, being in national championship organizations with Coach Corbin and the Vanderbilt baseball team. Just that breadth of experience will help me to guide our young coaches to develop and build these programs.
And on the other side of it, what did you think Lemoyne was looking for when they sat down with you, when you went through the interview process? What did they give you as far as the questions that they asked or what they spoke with you about that made you believe like these are the areas that they're really looking to? When they were looking for a leader of this athletic department, what did you perceive to be what Lemoyne is really in need of right now?
I think a lot of what I just said, kind of that re-engaging the alumni and friendsgiving were some of the questions. Um, Making sure that it was someone who understood the Lemoyne, ethos, the way the Jesuit piece of it was another big piece. Gosh, those were big focuses were in those two areas, and then a lot of it from the staff and coaches was about change and how am I going to lead them through change and reassuring them that I've experienced change. I know how challenging this is going to be. I've had three athletic directors and three chancellors effectively in the 9 years I've been at Vanderbilt myself. Um, Making sure that I can lead them through change without being a major disruptor, but also being, maybe slightly disruptive. Um, Doing things differently, but not to the point where it's banging your fist on the table to get there. And I think that's who I am, and that's what I'll bring for people. Is here's a great idea, let's try it. If we don't get it done the first time, maybe it's not for us, but we tried it, and that's what's going to matter. And I think that's kind of what I heard a little bit of is, hey, we need to try things a little bit different, but stay true to who we are.
Yeah. And it makes perfect sense. Try things a little bit different, but don't lose yourself. Don't lose your identity. Before we get into rapid fire, where you get to put me on the hot seat since you've been so great about my questions, my final one for you is this Lemoyne logo. It is up above you here on the screen right now. It's got a full dolphin outline. It's got Lemoyne Dolphins written out. We've seen the L before. What is your thoughts on branding, on the logo? Is there a change coming? Do you see some thoughts about that on your mind? I mean, a lot of schools, you're coming from a school that decided to revamp and retool and just say, hey, you see this V, you know it's us. So what's your thoughts on the branding of the future for Lemoyne?
Right now, I think because you're transitioning, the full logo as you see there is good. It's got all the elements you need. Hey, it's Moyne College. It's the Dolphin. That tells people, the new kid on the block, who you are. Never going to say never about changing a logo. Hadn't really thought about it until you just asked me. Um, I don't know. Does a fighting dolphin really strike fear into people? Maybe. We can get real kind of nerdy about it. I know that sharks and dolphins, often people think the shark is the aggressor. It's actually the dolphin. And we have some sharks in the league. So maybe we can do some sort of aggressive dolphin logo when we play LIU. But other than that, haven't really thought about changing the logo. I think it's important right now to include the name, people need to know. Just I'm wearing the Bland Dolphin here on my chest today. That may not be enough right now. Um,
Yeah.
the L may not be enough right now. I think the name will matter um, in the early days, and when we have brand recognition, then you look at changing it. But I think Lemoyne, the name, needs to be out there as much as possible.
I like it. Well, you get to put me on the hot seat now, Phil. You have the opportunity to ask me a trio of questions. Normally, rapid fire goes back and forth, but you've been great about answering all these and giving us a lot of information looking into the eve of this beginning for you on the Heights at Lemoyne. So you can ask me any three things in the world, and you could go when ready.
All right, best slice of pizza in town.
Always trying to get me in trouble. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna tell you the three places that at Avicoli's Avicoli's barbecue chicken pizza and margarita, at the Wildcat pepperoni and sausage, at Pizza Man Sweet Heat. So they're all different, but they all have an element to them that I really like. So I'm going to shout out the places that we're partnered with and shout out the pizza that I get when I go to those places, because it's different at every place. But yeah, I like sweet and I like spicy. The Sweet Heat at Pizza Man is truly something different.
All right, I'll make note of that one. I noted you covered Army Navy. What's the magic there for you? What's the most special part of that? Is it the servicemen and women in full uniform? What is the piece that just blows you away?
Well, I will tell you that going to this one, I mean, I've watched it from afar for so long. I've covered Navy for over a decade. Finally, got to link up with Army. Got to have Jeff Monken, the head coach, on the show a bunch of times here this season. And Brian Newberry's been on the show for years at Navy. Knowing them, like being around them both, getting to know them a bit, that's meaningful to me. Being in the press box and having the cadets right in front of me and the midshipmen right off to my left, seeing the president-elect and the vice president-elect, and, you know, Elon Musk was there, and just, you know, seeing that, seeing the people that are flying out of the air, parachuting down, and, you know, trying to land on the 50-yard line. There was so many things around it that's beautiful. But the answer to your question, as soon as you asked it, the easiest thing to say and the first thing on my mind is, in World War II, my grandfather on my dad's side, that I call Pop Miller, my grandpa served in the Army at 18 years old on the front lines of Germany. On my mom's side, my grandfather, my Pop Cavino, he served in the United States Naval Academy in World War II. So he's stationed out in the water. My other grandfather is on the front lines of Germany. My great uncle Bucky was captured, put into Auschwitz, and my great uncle Pat served in the Air Force, and his plane caught some issues coming away from a battle, and they had to parachute out, and he was protected by a family in Luxembourg, and because of them, he got to come home. And then my great uncle Vincent was a Marine. So they all served in World War II. So to me, across the military, my family's represented. They all came home. I wouldn't exist if 50% of my grandfathers didn't come home. So my parents wouldn't exist. To think about that and to have the reality of that, the weight of that moment for the Army-Navy game, I was there, and it was Army-Navy, but it was Pop Miller and Pop Cavino smiling down from heaven for me. To me, there was going to be a winner no matter who won. To me, being the grandson of two absolutely incredible people that passed away when I was 6 and still teach me to this day from heaven, and I really genuinely know that in my heart, and I thank God for that every day. Being at the Army-Navy game, I was 5 years old. I was taking it in. I was thinking about them. It was about my pride for them, my belief in them, my value, and just knowing that the people on the field and in the stands and watching, and the veterans, I mean, there is no family like the military family, and there is no greater honor than that. So the best thing about the Army Navy game is that 100% of that moment, both teams, both sides, I could say that I am a very, very honored and blessed grandson and grandnephew of the greatest of the great, and they were well represented on the field that day.
Well, that was beautiful. The next one, we'll stick with football for a second. CFP starts on Friday. Um, do one of the well, let me ask you two ways. Who's your overall, and if it's not one of the top four, who's coming out of the play-in rounds?
Great question. I, by the grace of God and by some incredible people and just trying to build relationships, I will not be only covering the CFP, I will be on site. So I will be there in the first round, SMU at Penn State. I will be there in the quarterfinal in Atlanta, Georgia for the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. I will be, as far as I know here now, in the semifinal at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic in Arlington, Texas. And hopefully I'll be there for the national championship. I have covered this thing all the way through, spoken with Nick Saban, spoken with the greats of the greats and people all over the country. First time I ever got to speak with Nick Saban was during the CFP. And so who do I have coming out of those early games? Rhett Lashley and I have really built a connection over the years at the American and now in the ACC. I don't think anybody should think that SMU is an easy out. I understand Penn State, 100,000 fans, Beaver Stadium, first time I'm ever going to be there. And I know the pageantry, right? There's so much to go with the Nittany Lions and the history. I'll learn more of the pageantry when I'm there. But I think that SMU is not a team that goes quietly in the night. They play really well in the second half of games. I think if it's 17-10, 10-10, 7-7 at the half, that's an SMU game. That's good for them. So I would not count SMU out. I wouldn't count Clemson out against Texas. As good as I think Texas is, I still would not count Clemson out. I've spent a lot of time around Dabo Swinney. And a man of faith, a man of God, a man who is charged to spread the love of God and service to others above football, you should never count a guy like that out or a woman like that out. So I think Clemson and SMU and really those would probably be, Notre Dame and Indiana. I don't think Indiana should be in. It's no disrespect. I think Army should be there. And Notre Dame, you put them in. Do you put them at 7? I don't think you put them that high. So those are kind of, to me, like one of them's going to knock the other one out. And then between Ohio State and Tennessee, that's the 8-9 matchup. I don't think there's an underdog in that game. I can see Ohio State winning because they're going to be at home. I could see Tennessee winning because I spent time with Josh Heupel at UCF, and I'm really proud of what he's done in college football in general. So, if I had to put feet to the fire, I would say Clemson or SMU could be the upset. But who do I see at the end of it all? I would love to tell you Oregon because I think that they're really good. And I covered Dylan Gabriel when he was at UCF, and the world decided to not know about him because they didn't think he was important enough at little old UCF. And then Oklahoma wanted him. And now Oregon's number 1 and the only undefeated team in the country of 134 FBS schools with him as their quarterback. So I'm extremely happy for him that he got the recognition he should have got from day one. But you're asking me right now in this moment, Phil, and you said you're an honest person, and I cannot lie. If I lied to you, I would literally get on the phone with you and be like, hey, what I just told you was a lie. I need to apologize for it. You want me to tell you who I think could be at the end of this thing? Georgia. They have been in games where you're like, what is happening? 13-12 against Kentucky. But who goes 8 overtimes and then goes into overtime again? Georgia is such a dangerous team. I think Texas is good, but they've lost to Georgia twice. I think Oregon's good, but I still think that they're going to take a loss in this thing. I think that SMU is a fighter, but I can also see Penn State winning. I think that whoever wins the Clemson-Texas game is going to have an easier game in the next round in the quarters against Arizona State. With no disrespect to them, I think that Clemson-Texas game, that's like a Final Four game to me. So of anybody that's going to make it out of this thing, I would love to see Boise State. And I really think, Phil, I really think that Boise State, I really do believe that they could be in the Final Four. But Georgia is Georgia, and my heart wants Boise State. My head is like, who can beat Georgia?
I've spent a lot of time around Georgia. I agree with you. I'm not an SEC homer anymore, but it's hard this year for me not to go, that's a tough one, because they just have so much fight at the end. Just they know how to close a game, and that's the scary part for whoever they face.
Amen to that. With that being said, Phil Brown, once again, here on Wake Up Call in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Moyne College Dolphins in year 4 of this first partnership of its kind ever signed by Moyne College. I want to thank Dr. Linda Lemura. I want to thank the board. And of course, I want to thank Phil. I want to thank Mike Lindberg and Bob Beretta before that. This is the first AD and DT with Phil Brown, and I look forward to many more on the eve of beginning, just a few steps away from January 1st, 2025, and just a few steps away of maybe being my roommate for a little while. Phil Brown, I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a good one.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there was something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There was a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allowing customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machines, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machines. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. And in a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here, as always, wherever you are, up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So however you're connected with the show, we thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, you can also find us on all of our wonderful podcasting outlets on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, as well as Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. Big time thanks to Brooklyn Pickle down in Southern Pines, North Carolina on 1788 Old Morganton Road. Go and visit them today for those of you down in North Carolina. And, of course, our partners in Central and upstate New York, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Servomation, Mother's Cupboard, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Great Lakes Honda City, GG Cards and Brakes, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, Pizza Man, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Bryan's Landing, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Moyne College Dolphins, your Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse, and your Binghamton University Bearcats. Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, on Wednesdays we jump into fantasy football in its very own video, so we will take a step aside on audio and video on our channels. We'll be back in just a few moments with fantasy football content. So for those of you worldwide on YouTube, Facebook, as well as on Podbean, stick with us. We'll be back right after this. God bless, no stress, do your best.